Alright everyone, you may have noticed that things with North Korea were a little bit rockier there in the wake of Pompeo's third visit, actually. He didn't manage to meet with Kim Jong-un, which may have been by design. The North Korean media, though, while I think he was still on the plane back to the United States, they're like, well, it was a regrettable attitude that the U.S. struck. They want unilateral denuclearization. They're being like gangsterish, which is a common term that the North Koreans use to describe people when they're at a row with them. Basically, you're a gangster regime or something. It's very funny. But let me point out several things. First, Trump's response to this problem was absolutely spot on. You didn't hear much about either part of this, by the way. The media was too busy fixated on SCOTUS to report on much on North Korea, the fact that there was a little shudder in negotiations there. Now, it's not significant, but the legacy media would love to come out and say, well, Trump has failed North Korea, haha, we told you so. No. He comes out, he invokes Kim Jong-un's honor. Very, very smart idea. He's like, well, we shook hands. I think he'll honor the agreement to denuclearize. That's the right way to go about it. He didn't insult him. He didn't play hardball. Right now, it's basically, hey, essentially what he's saying is if he doesn't, he's dishonorable. Well, that's not a good thing to be. If there's anything worse than being weak within Asian politics, within the context of the sort of regime that Kim Jong-un runs, it would be to be dishonorable. That would be the only thing. It's a fate worse than death. So that probably keeps him, on the up and up with regards to continuing to talk to Pompeo, maybe meet with Trump. You got to remember, though, that the timeline of this will probably stretch out for years insofar as any peace treaty, denuclearization, any continuous drawdown of troops on either side of the DMZ. And Kim Jong-un knows that if no progress, no measurable progress is made, come the time that the drills with South Korea would have gone on, Trump will say, hey, we haven't seen any progress. It's beginning to look a lot like the North Korean government doesn't intend to honor the arrangement. We're going to put the drills back on. We have no other choice. They're not giving us one. Kim Jong-un knows this. We then have to wait and see, I suppose, what happens at that time. I think it would be a major victory for Trump if they simply declared their stockpile and allowed in a couple of UN inspectors. That's basically all that has to be done, at least insofar as the next 6 months to a year. North Korea doesn't need to pack up all of its H-bombs and ship them off to France, although it'd be funny if he was already doing that. He's like, all right, we're not even going to talk to anyone about this. We're just going to pack them up and, spur of the moment, we're going to announce, okay, we've got a treaty here to end the war. We're going to go destroy our nukes and sending them to the French or whatever, which was suggested, I think, by Pompeo as well as others, sort of a more neutral party. Obviously not going to ship them to the U.S. That'd be funny. Yeah, we're going to give them to the Chinese. They can use them. No, I think that, when Kim was meeting with Jinping, how did Trump respond to that? Trump then comes out and says, well, I think that they'll, hold up their end of this bargain, but it's worrying. Maybe the Chinese are trying to stymie the plans. Again, Trump, generally speaking, has been able to get along with Xi while at the same time hardballing their economy. You saw today Merkel had to come out to try to defend China on trade. Literally, can you imagine 10 years ago if the German state had applauded the Chinese with regards to this? Everyone in the United States would have been steeled in their resolution of boycotting Germany. They would have said, well, you're going to team up with this horrible human rights abuser, manipulates their currency, shitty on trade, environmental disaster area. The fact is this. Merkel wants to run Europe, so Merkel's going to team up with China in hopes of that being a guarantor of them being able to stave off the U.S. trade war, at least until Trump's out of office. Good luck to you. I don't think that it'll happen because Europe is breaking apart and because the rest of Asia is growing more and more wary of China. Vietnam's most recent defense deal involves Australia. You've got to keep that in mind. Duterte appears to be a monopolar sort of thinker and doesn't give a shit about any of the great powers in the world so long as they leave him alone. Trump responded in the proper manner, but remember, before the last summit where Trump went, shakes Kim Jong-un's hand and they salutes the general and everyone was in a tizzy for no reason. It's like, yeah, let's go to a summit and disrespect one of the nations there. The reason that we're going to the summit, let's just totally disrespect them in a neutral nation. Really great idea. Before that, you'll remember, they came out, they insulted Mike Pence, which was more acerbic than what they're saying here. They're just saying, well, the U.S. had a regrettable attitude and unilateral denuclearization. It's kind of gangsterish. That's pretty mild for North Korea. Insulting the vice president right before a summit was supposed to take place was 10 times worse. And Trump knew how to respond, and he did, and he's responded properly here. The show will go on. I believe that negotiations will continue, but it's going to take time. Anyone who thinks Rome was built in a day, you go over to North Korea and try to get them to denuclearize. No other regime would be able to do it. Trump's uniquely qualified to actually get it done. Let me ask, like, the liberals this. Some of them. Let's say you don't believe he'll have success. Is it not at least worth trying to prevent a nuclear war? To prevent tens of millions of people from dying? Maybe Hawaii gets hit. Maybe Guam gets hit. North Korea and South Korea certainly take a hell of a beating from one another. Isn't that something that we should at least try to avoid and not attempt to antagonize unduly, regardless of how bad we may think Kim Jong-un is? You know, there are plenty of human rights abuses in Turkmenistan. I don't see anyone clamoring to go invade them. There are human rights abuses in Saudi Arabia. What about Iran? There's a million human rights abuses in Iran, and all of these same Democrats are like, no, don't scrap the Iran deal. Leave them alone. No, oh my God. Yeah, other than Hillary Clinton, she wanted to bomb Iran. She sounded like fucking John McCain. Human rights abuses. Libya. Oh yeah, the Democrats did such a good job preventing human rights abuses there. No, they get rid of Gaddafi, who admittedly was a weird individual. Now it's 10,000 times worse because you have 10,000 times as many slaves in open-air slave markets. But we saw he died, so it's okay. You know, Clinton led that, so it's all right. Everything she touches turns to shit. Now, can you imagine how a Clinton presidency would have dealt with North Korea? You know, we'd probably be in a nuclear war right now. We probably would be in a regional conflict. We certainly wouldn't have had a summit between Kim Jong-un and the U.S. president. It never would have happened. She wouldn't have been willing to do that. She would have tested a focus group that would have said, well, it's bad optics to go shake his hand. And she would have said, okay, well then ready the little red button. I can't wait to show that I can be 10 times more genocidal than a male. That's exactly what she would have done. She would have felt that her duty to all of, you know, her former womanhood back when, you know, her body did womanly things. That's her fucking problem. Donald Trump's the only one probably, at least at the moment, who can get it done. It doesn't matter if it fails, at least he's trying. He should get brownie points for trying. No other U.S. president has. What was Obama doing? Obama's like, don't you cross this red line. Don't you test another atomic bomb. They test it. What does he do? Well, we're going to continue sanctioning you. It won't matter because China will just ignore it. It won't matter because of Russian smugglers, but we'll sanction you anyway. You know, the rest of the international community might agree to it. That's all Obama did. Bush was even worse. Bush basically ignored the issue for the latter half of his presidency. They set off an atomic bomb. Oh, well, that's regrettable. They're a part of the axis of evil. What does he do but fuck nothing? Barely even bothers to sanction them. He knows he can't get anything accomplished. The Chinese were sitting there laughing at him for the last 4 years of his presidency because nobody here supported him either. And Clinton was the worst of all. Clinton's the one who started their nuclear program. They wouldn't even have an atomic weapons system if Clinton hadn't given them nuclear material, built them a reactor, and said, okay, we're giving you nuclear energy. Promise not to make nukes with it. You gotta let the inspectors in. What's the first thing? As soon as they start the reactor, they kick them back out, take the nuclear material, and make weapons out of it. That's what happened. They were laughing at Clinton all the way to the bank. As they should. Clinton was a shitty president. People that had pulled him up on a pedestal, at least until the Me Too thing. It took the Me Too shit for people to see Clinton for the scuzzwad he really was. That's how sad our society has become. Oh, the warmongering? Ignore that. The fact that he takes credit for Reaganite programs? Ignore the fact that he's not actually anything but shit with the economy. He's just a high-tax, routine fucking liberal. Ignore the fact that he lied to Congress. Ignore all the rapes and sexual assaults he supposedly... Ignore everything until there's a Me Too movement on Twitter. Now people care. All of a sudden he falls 10 slots on presidential greatness out of the top 10. You're crazy, dude. Absolutely fucking nuts. No, Trump is doing well on North Korea. And the fact that North Korea would come out and insult the U.S., what's abnormal about that? You should be happy that they're doing that. At least if they're too quiet, then you should probably be more concerned. Oh, they met with the Chinese 5 times this week. They haven't said anything about the U.S. Be a little bit concerning. That's about all. Peace out.